Well, good afternoon to you. It is now 3:06, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. And as always, it's pouring in. Congressman Matt Rosendale joins us to discuss this massive spending package. It should be just one page long. They said it's a continuing resolution. Can't we just continue the same old spending for just a little bit more time? One page? Wouldn't that do the trick? One sentence even? No. 1,574 pages of nonsense, chaos, and excessive spending. Congressman Matt Rosendale joins us at 3:30. Jenny Terr is here from the New York Post at 4:30. We talk about the problems that have come across our border. She's got some scary updates for you. Congressman Scott Perry is here at 5 o'clock, and then economist E.J. Antoni joins us at 5:30 today. He's been warning about this out-of-control debt as Congress looks to make it worse today. You can join us, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Note to self, don't text Dan Bongino while he's doing his show. He might read your text message out loud. That was not the plan. I'll spare you the details. If you listen to Dan Bongino, you heard it. But great to have you with us today here as we review what's going on in Congress, especially today. Who are these guys working for? It's not for you. It's not for you. This bill, as I mentioned, this out-of-control spending bill, 1,574 pages, has been presented. And right now, there is a frantic rush to pass it instantly. Here is the update from just now 19 minutes ago. Chad Pergram, and I can't recommend, if you're on X and you're looking for kind of the how everything works perspective inside of Congress, you can't do better than Chad Pergram. I'm telling you right now. Follow him. He's a Fox News producer. Basically, he's the Capitol Hill producer. This is a very unusual arrangement. He's a Capitol Hill producer. Normally, they don't put the producers on air, but Chad became such an encyclopedic resource for the network and the best at explaining everything that they just started putting him on television. They just skipped the middleman. Forget bringing in somebody else who tells you what Chad told him. We'll just bring Chad on directly. And Chad is a star. And so here's what he said. He said, Fox is told there is a push by House Republicans to potentially vote on the interim spending bill if they feel they have the votes in the next hour, meaning over the course of the next 60 minutes, there may be an all-out rush to pass this gargantuan spending package. And, of course, the reason they're rushing is not to, quote, avert a government shutdown, which would take place over the weekend. And, by the way, who cares? But it's to evade your scrutiny. If they get it passed quickly, they know the debate will die down, or at least they hope it will, because there won't be any hope of stopping this thing. However, Chad writes, one source told Fox that the Republican Party is bleeding support, in quotes, bleeding support. They need to see what the whip count looks like. As to Elon Musk weighing in, telling lawmakers that all should be voted out in 2 years, a member of the House Republican leadership told Fox that Musk, quote, is not helping. He has bigger fish to fry than picking a fight with House Republicans. He whined anonymously, or she whined anonymously, one of them. Fox informs two veteran House Republicans who are for the bill about Musk's tweet. Both of them laughed, slapped each other on the shoulder, and said to one another, "It's been nice serving with you." So they're mocking this, some anonymous veteran House Republicans, but also acknowledging the reality that Elon Musk is in a very good position to wield some influence over this conversation. And thank goodness here's a billionaire, Elon Musk. He adopted this country. He comes from Africa. He immigrates to the United States. He becomes the richest man on the planet. He hires untold thousands and thousands and thousands of American citizens. He builds products right here in the United States of America. He is revolutionizing all sorts of technology. He's fighting to keep that technology from being distorted, manipulated by the American left, and instead leaving it open for free speech and free ideas and all of the things that make America great. And he goes all in on President Trump during the campaign. He looks at the the ungodly resources of the American left, the massive, massive support that the Democrats have among all of their cronies in the billionaire class. And he says, well, somebody's got to fight back. Somebody's got to open up their checkbook to help out the sane side of this argument. So Elon Musk did. He announced his endorsement for Donald Trump immediately after Trump was shot on July 13th. Elon Musk came out and he said, that's it. I'm supporting Trump. I'm in. And he really did. He really did. He went all in. He registered lots of voters, got people to the polls, supported the president, and is now working as a part of a two-man effort, at least on the leadership side of this, to run what's called the Department of Government Efficiency alongside Vivek Ramaswamy. That's what they're doing. They want to improve the quality and cost of our government, which is way overdue, way overdue. And so Elon Musk today has been saying on X, on this important platform for free speech, that if you vote for this, you should be voted out in 2 years. If you're a member of the House, you should be voted out. Additionally, he says this bill should not pass. This bill should not pass. He just expressed now 2 hours ago, sounding like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. Shall not pass! Yeah, well, I hope he succeeds. I hope he succeeds here. And Elon was responding to, there's a lot of good Americans who are coming out right now and saying, wait a second, what's in this thing? What is in this gigantic spending package? Rick Scott says this, we got the 1,500-plus page, not-so-clean CR late last night. There's no way anyone is reading this whole thing that quickly. It's longer than the average Bible, for goodness sake. Yeah, people do Bible in a year. They try and take the whole year to read the Bible. You've got just under 24 hours to work your way through this disgusting mess out of Washington. Rick Scott continues, this is the same tired trick Washington uses repeatedly to force reckless spending and wasteful government programs through Congress, forcing us to vote on bills before we even know what's in them. It has to stop. It has to stop. Now, by now, you may have heard that Congress, you ready for how brazen this is? Congress is voting for pay raises for members of Congress. No, this is supposed to be a continuing resolution, meaning that the same spending we've been doing is the same spending we'll keep doing through March. So we have time to bring Donald Trump in. That's the concept. Donald Trump becomes president of the United States. Republicans control the House and the Senate. We'll be in a much better position. So let's do this one last can kick. That was the request. That's what they're asking. Let's do this one last can kick, and we'll get it right into this very favorable playing field for Donald Trump and company. And then we can really tackle all of this. That's what they've been saying. In fact, Mike Johnson this very morning was on the Fox News channel, Speaker Mike Johnson on the Fox News channel, saying, we've got to get this done right now. All I'm asking you is vote for this so we can go to March, and then Donald Trump is here. It's going to be awesome.
They understand the situation. They said, it's not directed to you, Mr. Speaker, but we don't like the spending. I said, guess what, fellas? I don't either. We got to get this done because here's the key. By doing this, we are clearing the decks, and we are setting up for Trump to come in roaring back with the America First agenda. That's what we're going to run with gusto beginning January 3rd when we start the new Congress, when Republicans, again, are in control. And all of our fiscal conservative friends, I'm one of them, will be able to finally do the things that we've been wanting to do for the last couple of years. Right now, Democrats still control the pens, and that's the problem. So we got to get this thing done so we don't have the shutdown, so we get the short-term funding measure, and we get to March where we can put our fingerprints on spending. That's when the big changes start, and we can't wait.
So just stay with us, he's saying. Stay with us. At this hour, we hear he is losing support. He is losing support now to be Speaker of the House. January 3rd is coming. Who's going to be the House Speaker? Who? Congress has voted for pay raises for itself. Bloomberg, the first to report, that members of Congress will be allowed their first pay raise since 2009. Right now, each member of Congress makes $174,000 a year. And they're upset. They haven't had a cost of living adjustment since 2009. Now, in the world that you work, maybe you work for the government, so it might be harder to assess. Because you're a WMAL listener, you're the kind of person that the government should have in its employ. You're a well-educated, productive member of society. In the world of commercial affairs, just private businesses, unless you're the world's crappiest business, you don't just throw money at people and things for no reason and then just keep giving people pay raises who are doing nothing to enhance your bottom line. That doesn't make any sense. In the private sector, how do you get a pay raise? You get a pay raise by making yourself indispensable, really talented, making yourself worth keeping. You impress your company because of what you're doing for them. You know, whatever it takes. You are. It's a merit-based system. That's the point. Pay raises should be predicated on merit. Do you deserve a pay raise? Does the company want to fight to keep you? Do they want to preclude you from going somewhere else? It's about leverage. What do you bring to the table? What does the company need out of you? What are they looking to prevent from happening should you leave? Those are all the things that go into that. That's the private sector. The government is nothing like that. The government is nothing like that. They will throw your good money after their bad decisions every single day of the week and twice on Sunday, and they'll never look back, ever. In fact, so much so that we're well over $36 trillion in debt now, and they're still not looking back. And the only people who are doing it are the people who voted for Trump, people like you, and people like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are taking a look at this and apparently are not just some ceremonial organization that is meant to conceal the fact that the government's going to continue its wasteful spending, and instead are already speaking from their bully pulpit, which they have, in order to browbeat these congressmen at this pivotal moment. We are going into Christmas week, and this is the same crap that you and I are served every single stinking year. Every year. Christmas is coming. We have to break for Christmas. We can't leave for Christmas with the government shutting down. So all of this converges at this very moment on purpose so they can slip all of this past you. So they want a pay raise. And they want it, and they're putting it in this legislation, and they're not even talking about it with even other members of Congress. They're like, all right, well, just quickly put a pay raise in there. And they want this thing to pass perhaps within the hour in the United States House of Representatives, according to Chad Pergram. They moved so quickly on this. Even Dick Durbin, who, by the way, has lied a lot, so he could be lying in this clip. Even Dick Durbin told CNN today he didn't even realize there was a pay raise in the legislation. Now, Dick Durbin is supposed to be a legislator. What are we paying these people for? Why are you paying Dick Durbin or anybody else $174,000 a year? The point is that they're supposed to craft legislation that serves you. That's the Congress. And Dick Durbin doesn't even know what's in it, and he says he deserves a pay raise. He has no idea what's in the legislation, and he simultaneously says he deserves a pay raise. For what? In the private sector, if you didn't know what was in the contents of your work and you were sitting down for a conversation about your salary, your boss would laugh you out of the room. You're not getting a pay raise. You don't even know what your job is. What evidence do you have that you deserve a raise? Here's Dick Durbin in Monteraju.
Members are giving themselves a pay raise. Do you guys deserve a pay raise?
Well, that's news to me. It's good news. You know, what has it been, 10 years or 14 years and no COLA, no change at all? I think it's about time something's done.
You support giving yourselves a pay raise?
How would I not know about a pay raise?
But I mean, people look at the performance of Congress and say, why should we give them more money?
What about the media? Think about that for a second.
And we're not paid by public money.
I know you're not, but I mean, half of your listeners are not there anymore. You're still getting the same paycheck? What's going on?
Well, I mean, your taxpayer money. I mean, you guys deserve a raise.
I love that exchange. So guess what happened at the end of that? At the end of that, you have a CNN reporter and a Democrat member of Congress arguing with each other about who sucks more. You suck more. No, you suck more. You don't deserve a raise. Do you really think you deserve a raise? Well, how about you? Why are you being paid the same as now that you have half the audience you once did? I love that they're fighting amongst themselves, but that still doesn't resolve the underlying problem, the big one, which is that Congress is hurtling towards passing this thing. And were it not for some of the biggest voices in the planet, like Elon Musk coming out, who knows where we'd be at this hour? This thing may have already been rammed through. And I'm only scratching the surface. Pay raises? That is just the beginning of the disaster we're looking at in these over 1,500 pages. This should have been one page long. There's lots of people who don't even want to pass CRs. I can understand that. But if you're going to make the case, we're just kicking this until Trump can handle it in March, well, fine. Just do it one page, one sentence. extend the spending. That's not this. This is 1,500 pages, and there's a lot of goodies packed in there, not for you, but for the people who paid for them. All right, to the phones we go. Marty is calling in from Fredericksburg, line 5. Marty, you're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince, how you doing? Thanks for taking my call, brother.
Yes, sir.
The Honorable Mr. Durbin said something there may have slipped past you. Why would a Democrat be asking for a cost of living allowance, because he said COLA, if the Biden economy is doing so well?
That's such a smart point. In other words, he's saying, well, things are so much more expensive now, so we need a much higher salary than the $174,000 that we're coughing up to all 535 of them at the moment. Yeah, you're right. Everything is so much more expensive because of their own behavior. It's not just the Biden administration, it's Congress. Congress sent all of this out-of-control spending to Biden. Biden signed it into law. And now they're saying, well, we've got to take care of them. That seems backwards, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It has to be a cost of living allowance because we know that it's not a merit-based thing.
No, not at all. Yeah, you're totally right. He has no idea what's even in the legislation. How could it be merit-based? That's hilarious.
No, why would he?
No, why would he? You got to pass it to find out what's in it, they say. Thank you, Marty.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Excellent point. Yeah, why would they need a cost of living adjustment? Oh, that's right. It's their fault. Once again, the arsonist becomes the firefighter and demands a pay raise. It really is disgusting. Joining us next, an outgoing Congressman, Matt Rosendale. He's sick of that place. He'll tell us why in a moment. Good afternoon to you. It's 3:35 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. Coming up today on the program from the New York Post, Jenny Terra is here at 4:30. Congressman Scott Perry joins us at 5 o'clock. And then economist E.J. Antoni here at 5:30. You can join us, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Elon Musk is going absolutely wild right now on X. He just tweeted moments ago, "Kill the bill," as an image of him, AI generated, I guess, of him holding a sword, running it through this 1,500-page monstrosity. Also, he just reacted to the fact that a couple members of Congress, I just quoted to you from Chad Pergram, you have veteran Republicans who are laughing amongst themselves and patting each other on the back as Elon Musk is voicing his public opposition. And Elon just reacted to the news that these anonymous members are mocking him here. And he wrote, "That's because they're too cowardly to do so publicly." So things are getting nice and spicy, in case you were wondering. This package includes a lot of ridiculous things, including pay raises for members of Congress who have yet to demonstrate the merit to deserve such a thing. And also this, members of Congress get to opt out of Obamacare, which we were told is amazing. Obamacare is an absolute treasure. It's so good that not even members of Congress are allowed to have it. Joining us now to break down what he's seeing is Congressman Matt Rosendale. He represents Montana's 2nd Congressional District, and he joins us on the phone. Sir, good to have you back with us.
Sir, it's great to be with you. Always timid, always polite. That's me.
What is happening here? What are we all witnessing? What are you seeing on the inside right now?
It's Christmas, Vince. This happens every year. I've only been here 4 years, okay? This happens every Christmas. I don't know why in the world anybody thought that anything was going to be different. This is as reliable as putting the tree up on Thanksgiving, for Pete's sakes. You
Really?
know it's going to happen.
But wait a second. Hold on a second. Hold on. I want to pause you right here because Speaker Mike Johnson assured me in September that this wouldn't happen. Take a listen.
But overall, with the CR, as our leader just noted, we have broken the Christmas omni. And I have no intention of going back to that terrible tradition. So there won't be a Christmas omnibus. As somebody asked me in the hallway a little while ago, will there be many buses? We don't want any buses. We're not going to do any buses.
We don't want any buses. We're not doing any buses. So why are we in a bus right now? What's happening? And why is it headed towards a cliff?
Why is this Greyhound driving around the Capitol then? That's all I've got to say.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So what is, 1,500 pages. Help my understanding here, because my impression was that if it's a continuing resolution, meaning you're going to keep doing the same spending you were doing last year, couldn't that just be a single sentence long that we're going to extend this spending to such and such a date? Instead, you get 1,500 plus pages. Why so many pages?
Because they're adding extra stuff in there, Vince. So let's be honest. Again, let me tell you why the people in Montana have elected me with overwhelming numbers, because I tell them the truth. And like I say, it's not always pretty, but the truth is always the truth. You've got people walking around this city today that are mad, some of them because they're not following the rules whatsoever. It violates the House rule requiring 72 hours notice. It requires the single subject, violates the rule about single subject legislation. It violates the norms that we are supposed to function under. But then you've got a whole bunch of other people that are mad because their projects weren't included in it. They don't give a hoot about the norms. They don't give a hoot about the rules. They're just mad because their pet project was not included in it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing all sorts of things popping out of this monstrosity, among them $10 million grant to test the purity of molasses. There is now another giveaway for the ethanol industry, saying that the E15 ethanol can be sold year-round.
Can be produced all year long. Exactly. Look, they've got $110 billion, and see, here's how they try to shame people into voting for these things. They call it disaster relief. I looked at several of the provisions and had the speaker at a Freedom Caucus meeting the other night, and the so-called disaster relief also includes like $1.7 billion to rebuild the Key Bridge. Look, I understand how important the Key Bridge is to the economy of Baltimore, the state of Maryland, and the shipping industry.
Yeah.
You know, so that people can get back and forth into the Patapsco River to the shipping channel there. But the fact of the matter is, Vince, that bridge was knocked down by a global freight company. And why in the world would a private facility that the state collects tolls on and was built with private money, why would the rest of the taxpayers across the country be obligated to pay for that when we've got a shipping company, a global shipping company, that knocked it down?
Yep.
If you went out in your backyard
Yes.
and you dug up a fiber optic line, news flash, buddy, you'd be paying for the repair. If I did the same thing with a backhoe trying to build a new street, news flash, I'd have to pay for that. And this company should be held the same. And you touched on it. In addition to all of this, they're going to reward this non-functioning, dysfunctional Congress with a pay increase? That's ridiculous.
It's a middle finger to the American people.
Deserve what they get now.
It's a total middle finger to the American people. And the other piece on the disaster relief front.
It's an insult to the American people.
So on the disaster relief front, I don't mind Congress contemplating where it can step in to help disaster areas. That makes sense to me. Here's what doesn't make sense.
Let me tell you where they can do the best help, though, Vince. Promising money that's going to come in 2 years.
Yeah.
That's going to increase the cost of the project that they're doing by tenfold.
I got
I've
it.
been through 2 massive floods in Montana over the last 4 years.
Yes.
Okay, and what we found out is it increases the cost by tenfold. And they don't deliver the money for 2 years. Those folks, what they need are permits, and the government the hell out of the way. They need to be able to go out there and cut down trees from the Forest Service, get them off of the roads, get their contractors in rebuilding the roads, and just get the government out of the way.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So, but here's the only point I wanted to make, which is this: why is it a part of a continuing resolution? Why isn't that a separate piece of legislation? You have made a whole bunch of good arguments for why it should be a completely different piece of legislation entirely. But I'm saying, why isn't it separate? Why would they lump in disaster relief in a continuing resolution? What's the point of that?
To shame people into voting for this great big pork-laden piece of crap.
Right. It's a hostage situation.
Yeah, that's all it is. But guess what? I won't be shamed into voting for it. My people know that if I vote against something, even though it might have a couple of beautiful trinkets on it, that there's a lot of things that are buried in there that are very bad.
So, do you think so? Elon Musk has been tweeting his opposition to this. Vivek Ramaswamy has released a great video kind of summarizing all of the nonsense that's in there. In fact, let's listen to Vivek. Here's Vivek talking about it.
Congress is about to pass a bill that blows away your taxpayer money, but they made it over 1,500 pages long so you wouldn't read it. I did you a favor. I read it for you. It's supposed to be about keeping government operations open and providing disaster relief aid to hurricane victims, which I'm sympathetic to. But if you read the bill carefully, it contains pay raises for members of Congress, and I'm not making this up, an expansion of their federal health benefits. It contains all kinds of special interests and pork funding, including opening up a new stadium in Washington, D.C. It renews the Global Engagement Center, which is a key node of the censorship industrial complex. And the worst part is, they didn't want you to know about any of it, and that's why they made this a last-minute jam job.
Congressman Matt Rosendale, how big of a difference could it make that people like Elon and Vivek are speaking up at this critical moment?
We're going to find out. And this is going to be a defining moment of what we can expect over the next 4 years, the Trump administration. I have said that the Vivek and Elon Musk certainly are going to be able to identify areas in government where we can reduce spending. There's no doubt about that. And their target, I believe, is about $500 billion. They'll be able to identify it, but the problem is you're going to have the same members of Congress voting on these reductions in spending that wouldn't help me and my friend Representative Andy Biggs and my friend Representative Bob Good and my friend Representative Eli Crane and my friend Representative Matt Gaetz. They wouldn't help us reduce spending by $500 million. So this is going to be a defining moment to see if Vivek and Elon can keep these guys from spending another several $100 billion.
But being a member of Congress and watching all of this play out, as you've seen these things, when this much public attention is all of a sudden concentrated on a member's office, where there's a ton of scrutiny coming in, especially from your own constituents, do the grassroots efforts work, do you think? If we maintain pressure, could it result in a good outcome?
We will find out. Okay, you need 218 votes to pass something across the floor. How many Democrats got balled off for this package?
Yeah.
Okay, now all of a sudden, if you've got how many, what are you going to have? If you've got 216, 213 Democrats, now we're going to need 5, 10, whatever, okay, Republicans. I sort of think you're going to have more than 5 or 10 Republicans vote for this bill. My guess is you may have 70 to 90 vote against it. Republicans vote against this bill.
Are you sensing right now that the coalition of the people who are no votes is growing?
I think it is. The pressure is mounting, and the fact that they have not scheduled the bill to the floor for a vote yet tells me that the whip team is out there trying to figure out exactly what the head count is.
Right, and means they don't have the votes right now, because if they did, they'd be rushing to get this thing passed, because the last thing they want is more of us dwelling on how politically noxious the whole thing is, and yet
Correct.
Here we are. Should the government shut down, you think, this weekend? Would that be a wise piece of leverage to use? It does seem to me that, if you're ever going to do it, you may as well do it right after a presidential election. We're as far as possible from this having any sort of impact, negative impact at all, if such a thing exists on President Trump. Should we do it now?
So I'll tell you 2 things. Number one, if you don't use the threat of shutting down the government, then you will never end up getting the results that you want. Okay? Chuck Schumer knows that the House of Representatives won't shut down, and that's why he's been able to have his way. He has had his way with this Congress since I got up here 4 years ago. He knows that they won't do it. They are horrified. There are members that are horrified. The other point that I will say is you never get a shutdown. 70% of the government continues to function. The other 30% can continue to function with a simple rearrangement of where the funds are going, a redirection of the funds are going. So it's all just the false scare that they Democrats have used to replace the Social Security scare that they used to use back in the 80s and 90s all the time.
Right. It's theater is what it is. And meanwhile, the people who are considered non-essential, they just furlough them and then pay them eventually.
That is exactly right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's where we are right now. And then finally, as you head out of Congress, sir, Congressman Matt Rosendale on the phone with us, do you foresee the next Republican conference voting once again for Mike Johnson? What does his future look like as Speaker?
I don't know. I did see something today that Thomas Massey said that he was not going to vote for Mike. So I really don't know. Everybody has been talking about this end-of-year spending that takes place every year, and I haven't heard them focus too much on the Speaker's election that will be taking place, to going into January. So I'm not sure. But the problem is, quite frankly, Vince, that the Speaker is nothing more than a reflection of the majority. And if the majority is willing to go along with all this, which they have demonstrated very clearly that they are willing to time and time and time and time again, then, you could a different speaker would demand different things.
Yes.
But this majority is not going to elect a different speaker. The problem that we run into, and I have said this many times over, is when the Democrats are able to obtain the majority, the first thing that they do, even if it's a thin majority, they come in and they lock arms and they pass their agenda. And then once they have got their agenda passed, they go back in and try to give cover to their vulnerable members to see if they can get reelected. Sometimes they are, and they maintain the majority. Sometimes they aren't, and they lose the majority. The Republicans, on the other hand, when they get the majority, their first response is to start trying to give cover to their vulnerable members and then expand the majority. You see the difference? They never try to get their agenda passed. And because of that simple philosophy, the Democrats have been able to incrementally pass their liberal agenda and expand it for the last 75 years, which is why our country is $36 trillion in debt and taxpayers are paying for abortions, transgender surgeries, and all kinds of other things that they never should be forced to pay for.
Yeah, because they didn't fight, which is, of course, what
President
Trump
didn't get their agenda passed and then go back in and see if they could maintain their majority.
Yeah. Congressman Matt Rosendale, have a very Merry Christmas, sir. Thank you for joining us today on a critical day in Congress. Thank you, sir. Good to talk to you. Well, and just like that, we have news breaking that Elon Musk's pressure campaign seems to have been working. Your pressure campaign seems to have been working. Right now, Speaker Mike Johnson is considering yanking the entire 1,500-page bill and replacing it with what Politico is referring to as a, quote, clean CR. We'll see how clean it is, meaning just a simple continuing resolution which extends spending, presumably to March. Chad Pergram at the Fox News Channel also reporting that Fox is told now of pulling that bill and trying to do a, quote, clean bill. Politico says the Louisiana Republican is discussing dropping the $100 billion in disaster aid plus other attachments and instead passing a clean CR, then dealing with the other issues in the new year, according to two Republicans with knowledge of the conversations. Keep it going. Keep the phone lines blazing. Let Congress know what you really think. Ahead on the program, we're going to be joined by Jenny Terr. We'll talk to her about the problems coming across our border, new information there. Scott Perry, the congressman, is coming up. EJ and Tony's coming up. And you, all ahead on the Vince Coglianese Show.